Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Karen Buck from the Senior Law Center. We're based here in Philadelphia. Our mission is to protect the rights of older Pennsylvanians, and we are a proud member of the Voter ID Coalition. I have heard many of our speakers today talk about seniors, and that is our focus. Over a year ago, in March of 2011, I was invited up to Harrisburg by Representative Metcalf to testify at the first hearing on what was then known as HB 934, which is the voter ID legislation. And we were then and continue to be very, very concerned about the egregious and disenfranchising and disproportionate impact that this legislation will have on senior citizens, hundreds of thousands of older Pennsylvanians. In that testimony last March, I talked about a woman named B, who was then 93 and just celebrated her 94th birthday this month. She's a widow, she has no photo ID, she's frail, and she's been voting for over 7 decades. Are we going to turn her away at the polls in November? I say no, and I'm happy to tell you that B is now a plaintiff in the litigation in Commonwealth Court fighting the good fight. We're very proud of her. Senior Law Center also, a couple weeks ago, filed an amicus brief in the litigation in Commonwealth Court on behalf of Senior Law Center and our 10 partners, nationwide, statewide, and local organizations advocating for seniors. We know that 18 to 25% of senior citizens in the Commonwealth do not have photo ID. And we also know, despite the flurry and mix-up of numbers across the Commonwealth, that seniors in Philadelphia are the most heavily impacted. So I'm delighted to be here and to be working with all of you. Thousands and thousands of our parents, our grandparents, older veterans, our neighbors, community leaders, and those who fought for the right to vote, those who fought our battles and our wars to preserve democracy and freedom, those who fought for civil rights and voting rights may indeed lose their right to vote. It will be an impossible task for many seniors to get ID, absolutely impossible, because they may not have birth certificates. It will be a Herculean task for many thousands of others because of the burden of dollars, of time, of transportation, and difficulty. But we're very optimistic about the litigation challenge. We have amazing attorneys in Harrisburg fighting this fight, and we are still on the ground working with the coalition, not only to educate and to advocate, but to also assist voters to get ID. And I'm very happy to tell you that this Friday, we'll be having a voter ID legal assistance clinic in Germantown. It's our first of hopefully many. It'll be held in conjunction with our partners Face to Face Legal Center and many area law firms who are donating their time to help folks get birth certificates, marriage certificates, divorce certificates, other information and documents that they need to get their ID. So that's this Friday, August 3rd, from 10 to 12 in Germantown, and we do ask people to call the Pennsylvania Senior Law Helpline to sign up. It's 877-727-7529, and I just want to emphasize that this clinic is open to all voters of all ages. We encourage people to come find out if they have the ID they need, and if they don't, get assistance to get it. I'm really thrilled to now introduce Jennifer Lin from the Asian Pacific American Bar Association of Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Karen. Again, my name is Jennifer Lin. I'm president of the Asian Pacific American Bar Association of Pennsylvania, also known as APABA PA. For those of you who may not be familiar with our organization, APABA PA is a nonprofit organization which seeks to support the advancement of Asian Pacific American attorneys and to promote justice, equity, and legal access for all Asian Pacific American communities. One of our primary components of APABA PA is our commitment to serving communities with limited access to justice through education and advocacy, which has been the driving force of our organization's largest committee, the Community Outreach Committee. Following the passage of the Pennsylvania voter ID law, APABA PA, through its community outreach and policy committees, sought to actively educate our membership, as well as members of the community at large, on this pressing issue, My fellow executive committee members, Rahat Babar and Stella Tai, have served as our primary ambassadors to the Pennsylvania Voter ID Coalition, whose underlying mission is to educate the community on the Pennsylvania voter ID law, providing up-to-date information on substantive aspects of the law, as well as highlighting the process required in order to obtain proper photo identification for voting. On Election Day, or even before, if voters have any questions, they should contact the Election Protection Hotline, a national resource sponsored by the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under Law, at 1-866-687-8683, 1-866-OUR-VOTE. Finally, in addition to the legal workshops that APABA PA has hosted with regards to the voter ID law these past couple months, our Community Outreach Committee can act as a resource for anyone who is having trouble and can connect voters in the appropriate direction. To contact the committee, voters can call 484-533-7192, or they can also email apabapaco@gmail.com. On behalf of APABA PA, I'd like to thank Council President Clarke and members of City Council for inviting us to participate in today's event. We look forward to continuing our joint efforts in raising awareness on this very important issue. And with that, I would like to introduce Dylan Morpurgo. He is a junior at Temple University and the representative from the Student Government Relations Committee.
Good afternoon. My name is Dylan Morpurgo, and I'm a junior at Temple University, working with the Temple Student Government Relations Committee. I would like to thank City Council and the Voter ID Coalition for inviting the Temple community here today. The student vote is often neglected and overlooked. In 2008, 24 million young Americans went to the polls, the second largest youth voter turnout in American history. Young voters, especially student voters, were vital to the electoral process 4 years ago. Still, those 24 million Americans only represented 54% of young voters. Civic leaders continuously stress the need and importance of young voters and student voters to increase their participation in elections. While some states are making this process easier, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is creating obstacles. The voter ID law passed by the state legislature attempts to place obstacles on our civil and civic rights to exercise our right to vote. When this new law passed in the spring, none of the state's system of higher education schools and colleges, and only one of the 4 state-related universities, had ID cards that qualified under the current law. And now it's believed that 20% of young Philadelphians lack the proper ID to vote. At Temple University, we've been lucky to have an active student body, student organizations, and student government who worked with the administration to ensure that our ID cards would qualify under the law. But dozens of institutions around the Commonwealth still lack the proper ID. With today's economic situation and higher education funding under threat, the cost these institutions are incurring to make sure that their students will have the proper ID to vote is unreasonable. Instead of creating a system in which students can easily know when, how, and where to vote, we're now faced with a situation where Pennsylvania is telling its students that their vote is not valued. With the importance of Pennsylvania in presidential elections ever evident, every vote should be cherished. Students' votes will matter. Student voters are a broad group that represent many different demographics that vote on both sides of the aisle, who deserve to be heard on November 6th, no matter what our school ID has an expiration date or not. The Temple community is committed to working with our North Philadelphia community to ensure that all voters will be able to be heard in November. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know you've heard a lot of information today. What I'd like to do at this point is to give out a couple of very important numbers, and these numbers will eventually get you to whatever resource that you may particularly need as it relates to either voter ID, transportation, anything that's needed to ensure that we have full participation in this very, very important election. The hotline number is 1-866-OUR, O-U-R, VOTE, V-O-T-E, or 1-866-687-8683. Again, 1-866-OUR, VOTE, 1-866-687-8683. Again, I want to thank all of you very much today. City Council's website will be up. You will be able to interact with all the individual council members on any information. We're going to put all of the information from our coalition on our website to provide that opportunity so you can interact with them directly. So again, to the coalition, all of the people who are working on this very important issue, I want to thank you all so much. And to my colleague, thank you all for continuing to do the great work that you do, particularly our 2 Series 6 members, 2 fresh persons are always on the case. Guys, thank you so much for being here.